Welcome to this short technical demo showcasing the simple steps required in order to get a Customer Insights environment up and running. Customer Insights is a simple and easy to use tool that requires practically no code. It's adept at combining data from multiple sources using AI, and you have the ability to simply enrich your data using Microsoft proprietary data sources. You can measure, segment, and predict using AI to get a better understanding of the people that interact with your organization. And all these features will help in the gathering of insights that drive action. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to take a look at imaginary social care data. We'll have data on individual profiles from the payment system, individual profiles from the social care system, transaction data, and data on customer feedback. The purpose of Customer Insights in this example use case is to unify customer profiles and get an understanding of the people who use our services. This will help target particular services to individuals with certain characteristics, financial planning, and service quality evaluation. As soon as you create a Customer Insights environment, you'll be presented with this homepage. The first thing you need to do is to add some data. Now, to do this, just simply click Data, then Data Sources, and then Add Data Source. In terms of data sources, there's a couple of options that are available to us. We can either connect to an Azure data lake storage, which is designed to store masses of raw data. You can connect to Azure Synapse Analytics. Now, Azure Synapse Analytics as a tool brings a number of technologies together from the likes of ETL tools to data warehousing, and then analytics under one roof. And we can connect to databases in this location. Microsoft Dataverse. Now, this is primarily used for the Power Platform. It also powers Dynamics 365, and this is where we store data for business applications. Again, this data can be accessed. Probably the one most people will be familiar with, I suspect, will be Power Query. Now, this tool is used readily by Microsoft Excel and Power BI, and it's quite good for that low-code ETL processes. It can connect to a wide range of data sources and perform simple transformation steps using the UI that's available in Power Query to turn the data into something that you want when you want to import it into a solution. So this is what I'll use for this example. So if I go back, you'll notice that I've created a number of entities here. So if I click on this social care entity and then click next when it comes up with Power Query, I'll be presented with 4 tables that I've imported. So just waiting for it to load. So the thing that's important with Power Query is you can perform a number of changes to turn the data in exactly how you want it to be. So once I've imported this data, there's a couple of things that I'm not happy with. So for instance, this first column is the name of the file, and it doesn't actually add value to some of the stuff later down the line that I'm going to do in Customer Insights. So I'm going to simply remove this. In addition, I've also noticed that the date of birth column is in the wrong format. So I can see here that it's in text format. So all I will need to do is change that to date format. And that way I can go through each of these tables, do something similar. It just makes me more comfortable with how the data will flow into the Customer Insights environment. Now, the cool thing with Power Query is once I've made these changes are recorded. So if I want to refresh this data set here, all the tweaks and transformations that I've actually put in will be replayed back, and the data will be as I want it to be every time I refresh it. Once data is successfully imported, it's now time to unify the customer profiles to get a singular view of people who interact with the organization. Now, to do this, if I go back to the home page, I can access the unification page by clicking on Unify Data. I'm now presented with the Map, Match, and Merge option. Now, first thing I need to do is define and select the entities that I want to perform the unification on. So if I select, I know from understanding of the data that I want social care core and contact to come in as these are two customer profiles. I don't want to put any payments or feedback into this unification process because these are activities, so they don't relate to a customer profile. So now that I've got this page here, so I've got both data sets, you'll notice that intelligent mapping automatically assigns a data type to each of the columns in each table. And this is all done through AI. This is really clever and useful and saves a lot of time when importing data. Now, one thing we do need to define is the primary key. Now, the primary key is a way of linking tables together and creating relationships. So it's important that we define this for the tables in question. So now that I've selected the primary keys and we've got our columns set to a data type, I can go to the match phase. So if I save that now, the map's been saved. I can move on to match. So I need to define now how the entities are going to match. So I'm just going to do that now. So I'm going to select the order of the way the entities will join. So I want the social care table to be the primary because I know that's got the most records in it, and then the contact table to be the secondary table. I can choose whether to include all, which will select even if the records don't match, it will still pull them through, but I'm not too fussed about it on this occasion. So if I click done, what it's saying to me now is it needs rules to link the tables. So if I click on here, I can choose how I want to link the tables. So I'm simply going to pick contact ID on both tables in the contact table and the social care core. I can just name it accordingly. And then I can choose whether I want it to precisely join or has less precision, which means that similar seeming records can be linked together. However, on this occasion, because I know both the fields link exactly, because they're the same, I will just keep the precision onto exact. So now that we've selected how the entities will relate, I can just start setting deduplication instructions. So if I go into social care core, I want to keep the most recent record, and I can base this on the created on field, which is when the record was created. If I click done, I then can add some rules around deduplication. Again, we've got the precision setting there. So what I'm going to do is do some duplication checks on the email field, and I'm just going to set the precision to high for this purpose. I can click done, and then I can save the matching phase. So next, it's all about merging the records together. So one thing that I need to do on this section is choose what fields that I want to display on the unified customer profile. So I can go through here and exclude records I don't want to see. So I'm just going to get rid of these name fields that are repeated. And then to run it, all I need to do is click Run, Merge, and Downstream Processes. And it's now queued. Now, if I go to click on Admin, go to System, I can then see the process is now running. Once the data has been unified, you'll now be able to view customer profiles. Now, these are people in this instance that interact with the organization. And I can click in onto any individual and see lots of information about them. Now, this is from the combined two tables that we unified earlier. The next thing I will want to do to supplement this information is add activity data. So to do this, all I need to do is click on Add Activities here. and then add activities again. So for this purpose, I'm going to add an activity to do with customer feedback or feedback for people who are involved in social care. So to do that, I want to select the relevant table, which in this case is called contact feedback, and select a primary key, which is feedback ID. Next, I want to map this table to the existing customer tables that we've already unified. And to do this, I need to select the field that I'm going to use to link the tables. So in this case, I'm going to use user ID, which actually maps correctly to the contact ID in the social care table. So I'm just going to call this feedback mapping, and then click apply. And then I click next, and then I'm going to put some notes on how I want the activity to display. So what I'll need to do is for the event activity, I'm going to make that be the feedback text, so what the person actually wrote. I'm going to put the timestamp as the review date, so when they filled it in. Additional detail that I want to display is the activity type. Now this displays where the information has been recorded, whether it's been on a website, that kind of thing. And then I'm going to put an icon in terms of how I want it to look on the activity menu on the customer profile. And I'm going to leave web address blank. And if I click yes here, it will show me an example of what the timeline will look like. So I'm just going to go on and click next. Now this section here is to do with semantic mappings. Now semantic mappings let you map your data in predefined schemas, and these schemas help customer insights understand the data better, and is really useful for enabling new insights and features in customer insights. So it's definitely worth looking at. However, for this purpose, I'm just going to skip it for now. And I'm just going to click Save Activity. Once activities have been created, you'll start to see these flow through onto each individual's customer profile. And what we can see here, we've got activities ranging from the feedback that we talked about earlier, and I've also added one to do with payments. So you can see every interaction that an individual has had with the organisation. So this is really powerful. Once we've done that, there's a couple of options in terms of what we want to do next. So firstly, you can enrich the data. Microsoft provides a number of proprietary data sources that you can supplement your data with. So that's whether it from demographics information, people's interests on brands and other interests, and this is based on demographics. And there's also you can enhance addresses as well to ensure they're in a great format. So in addition to that, there's also things we can do around putting predictions on our data. So this is machine learning. Microsoft provides a number of templates where you can do this. So whether it be customer churn, product recommendations, that kind of thing. So this is really powerful in terms of supplementing your data with intelligence. Probably the most useful aspect, or one of the most useful aspects, is the ability to create measures based on your organization's performance. So you can create two kinds of measures. There's a business level measure and a customer level measure. Now, customer level measures will appear on your customer profile. So this is really useful if you want to start measuring like lifetime spend, that kind of thing. I can see that being used to understand whether people have hit social care caps, that kind of thing. You can also create business level measures. So you can see like the average spend, you can see average feedback scores, those kind of things, and those will appear in the homepage. So what we'll do now is we'll create a simple measure just to show how easy it is. So all you have to do is go to the measures tab here and click new measure. Now you're presented by this screen. So the first thing you want to consider is whether you want it to be a customer level measure or business level. So I'm just going to leave it as a customer level measure for now. So what I will do is I'm just going to sum up the amount of payments that someone's put through. So I'm just going to add an attribute. Just going to look at the payment received entity and just pick total price and add that there. Then all I need to do now is click save and close and call it something. So I'll just call it total spend. Click save. And then I can choose to activate it and then refresh it straight away. And then once that's done, it will start appearing in customer profiles. So as you can see here, I've now created some measures. These are the measures that will appear on the customer profile. I've also created some measures that are at a business level, and this will provide a more holistic view of the organization. So it's really useful to create these measures. The next thing we might want to consider doing is creating some segments. Now, segments down here are a handy way to cut the data to target specific individuals. So it's really useful to do. Now, if we think from a social care point of view, we may want to look at individuals between the ages of 16 and 18. Now, these are people that will be currently using child services, but they will be starting to transition to more adult services. So they certainly may need to meet new teams, might require advice or education about the changes, and their benefits could change. So it might be something that we may want to segment and identify who those individuals are. So to do that, we go to segments pane, click new segment, and then we want to pull in the age attribute into this rule here. So we can get that from the customer table, which is the unified customer profile. I pull that in and say we want to check whether the age is greater than or equal to 16. And if I click on age again, I can add an additional clause, which is an and statement, and then check, see whether the age is less than 18. And it's as simple as that, to be honest. So we just save it, and then we just give it a title. We call it ages 16 to 18, and then just call it adult transition. So just click save. I can now run this segment. Brilliant. As you can see, I've created a number of segments as a way to get an understanding of the groups that interact with our organization. The option I have next is to take that segmented data and export it to Drive Action. The best way to do this is to navigate to the Data tab and click on Exports. I then need to create an export. I am then presented with a number of connections that I can choose to export the data to. So for example, I could choose to use MailChimp. This is useful if I want to send out emails, but there are many options. So my suggestion would be to explore what is the best method of exporting for your organization and start using the data to drive action. In summary, data has been imported, transformed, and combined to produce a unified customer profile. We've created activities to gauge how each individual interacts with the organization. And we've created measures to gain insight about the people that use our services. And finally, we have segmented the customers into groups so we can start to drive action. I hope this demo has illustrated how simple and quick it is to turn siloed customer data into insights and then into action. Now the opportunity is for you. Have a go, spin up a trial environment, start driving action.